about $108,000 from the original. The primary source for this savings was due to our ability to utilize the considerable amount of background materials and data resulting from previous studies and programming work performed by the Blue Ribbon and Town Center Task Forces and the Atherton Library Building Steering Committee. The final scope and fee that's before you this evening also incorporates and reflects input and recommendations of the Civic Center Advisory Committee. So in summary, by adopting and approving staff's recommendations this evening, Council will be approving a scope of work and services in a not to exceed fee of $181,000 with HMC Architects. You will also be authorizing a budget for the Civic Center Master Plan in the amount of $196,000, which is greater by $15,000. The additional $15,000 is for contingency. And one of the things that kind of a late change that we made, which resulted in the revised scope of work that you were all presented earlier today, is that the initial scope of work and fee we received incorporated the contingency as part of the HMC contract. So what's before you and what's been revised is that the contingency has been taken out of their contract. And so that's why what's before you now is a not to exceed a fee of $181,000. Staff still believes that it's prudent to keep the $15,000 contingency, and so that's why we're asking for the budget to be $196,000. But the way that the contract laid out is that any use of that contingency won't happen without prior authorization from the town.
How about from the council?
Well, that's what I mean.
Because it's 15,000.
Well, no,
No,
the way this
not.
would be, is that the staff would be authorized to spend up to $196,000. So not necessarily, the way that's currently worded, we would not necessarily have to come back to the council to get, say, a $3,000, change order on the consultant services contract.
One of the things that the Civic Center Advisory Committee talked about was the potential need for additional neighborhood meetings or an additional council meeting of some sort. So the discussion was if the contingency was included as part of their contract, then it was under the consultant's control, which we did not want. We wanted it clearly to be under the town's control. So that's why, as Mike indicated, it was separated out. But it is purely for the use of, additional neighborhood meetings that need to be done involving the consultant or an additional council meeting. We don't know exactly what that might be.
And so would those additional meetings or direction for spending those additional funds come from the community's Civic Center Advisory Committee?
In all likelihood.
It would probably come before the committee.
Correct.
And maybe not all the way to council.
Correct.
Okay, so as long as the committee, it's not staff's choice to authorize it, the committee has to authorize it then.
Yes, we would.
All right, so let's make that clear, because as my understanding of these contingencies is, as you said, it's an extra amount, and then the staff is at the, has at their sole discretion, they authorize the contractor to spend more, and as long as it's within 10%, you don't have to come back. But I think in this case, since it's actually higher than what we thought to start with, it would be prudent for you to come back at a minimum to the committee, who we've entrusted with managing this project and doing this very important work.
Exactly. Councilmember Dobby, he's on the committee, so.
I would say that I think originally the contingency was going to be in the contract. And I hate contingencies because basically every contract we've ever had here, we're at a contingency. Guess what? The contingency was spent. And so I think to some extent, at my insistence, we took this contingency out of the contract, but nevertheless allowed the city manager to have an additional amount of money to spend on things that he and the council thought were necessary.
And now I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, we're coming back.
Yep.
So, any other council discussion about this? Do you have something to say? No?
No, I think it's.
Any
it's a
public
project needs to move
comments
forward.
about this?
As a member of the committee, I want to support the proposal and the staff report, but I also have a question. The library committee had submitted to the CCAC a $6,500 payment for the needs assessment so that we could assess the specific needs in the service population in order to get a square footage, and I don't see that here.
That didn't get put on this agenda, it got dropped, staff dropped that item.
Why?
So it'll.
No, it was an error. I
It was
mean,
an
it was
error.
just an oversight.
Yeah,
And
so it'll show up on the August 7th study session for approval.
I
So
realized
we'll
it
be
this
approved-
afternoon.
So we will not make our September 1st date.
No, you'll be a couple weeks behind that.
I realized it when I was going through the agenda packet today and contacted city manager, and we are having a study session on August 7th.
Correct.
Is our next, so it's just 2 weeks. It's not a
I
whole
see.
nother, it's
So it will be
August
approved at the
7th.
study session?
Yes,
Yeah.
August 7th.
Okay.
And that's when we said we put it on that agenda.
Yeah, I
Thank you
apologize
for
for that.
bringing that up. We really apologize. There was all this other stuff. Okay, well, bringing it back to, any other public comments? Okay. So bringing it back to council, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt this Civic Center Master Plan contract.
So moved.
A second? Okay, Mr. Whitmer, all in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes. Okay, great. Did you say Godspeed? You said Godspeed. Yes, we are just flying now. So, we will go on to item number 18. And item number 18 is the approval of resolution establishing monthly study session meetings. City manager?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, you do need to adopt a resolution that establishes regular meetings. You have one that you annually do for city council meetings, or you've done in the past. This one is to establish the study session meetings. At the last study session meeting, it was noted that perhaps we could do them on a Monday or a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, so that's open within this resolution for the council's debate this evening.
Any members of the
Yeah.
council have a issue?
You know, I'm not really a big believer in study sessions, but if we're gonna have them, it seems to me that there should be some purpose. The goals of the study session should be laid out ahead of time, and that somehow each study session should be shown to assist in the progress of the town. And I can remember a 2-day study session we had several years ago. We spent 2 days studying everything, and nothing ever happened as a result of that study session. And so, you know, I'm mixed as far as study sessions go. I think frankly, to have them on a regular basis with all the other meetings we have, I think it's too much. I think they should be called only when there's some particular reason for the study session. And before the study session, we should have in front of us what the particular goals are of the study session. And then at the end of it, summarize the accomplishments of the study session, so that, you know, it's not just a waste of time.
Okay. Good point. Mr. Doc,
So, I too think that we have a lot of meetings. I'd like to make sure that we're keeping the study sessions to be exactly what we said they would when we first had this conversation. That there are some large items that really need to be fleshed out and discussed in thorough, and perhaps even council being better educated prior to making a decision and prior to taking up or being rushed to the council meeting when we, the public is out there waiting and we're trying to get to the meat of a major issue and we're taking an hour or 2 hours and then pushing everything to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when we're not really making good decisions and the public isn't here really to weigh in. So if we're going to use our time, we agreed that it would be up to 2 hours, not planned to be 2 hours, and that we only use them when necessary and we use them for major issues. Because I think that's really what the council needs to do, is really focus on the key issues, and the day-to-day operation is for consent. So as far as a meeting time, if we have to have them regularly, I understand that there could be an issue on Mondays with regards to people that, work schedules of some of the employees, as well as sometimes there's a bank holiday on a Monday. And somebody even mentioned something about concern about Monday night football during the winter. I think that was a joke though, but I didn't want to mention it. Mondays are a better day because, the meetings and the Wednesdays really take up the whole week. And occasionally, if a council member has to travel for work, they might be able to squeeze in a Monday meeting, whereas a Wednesday meeting more or less shoots the whole week. So I would like consideration to have them at the beginning of the week if possible. And that they're one or two major topics and that's it. And if they take 2 hours, they take 2 hours. But if they take, a half hour, then they take a half hour. And they don't get filled up so we're having really 2 council meetings every month.
So we've had one study session so far. Back in March at our team building workshop, we all agreed that it would be important for us to hold regularly scheduled study sessions so that we are not rushed in a council meeting format, and it's more relaxed, it's a more free flow of information and discussion so that we can tackle some of the larger issues. I think that one of the study session items that we talked about in our July 3rd meeting was the council vacancy. Is that what we did? No.
We discussed that as well as the parcel tax.
And the parcel tax, the council vacancy, and then there was one item that was presented to us that we've been working on, and Councilmember Widmer has really wanted to make, and I wanted this a year ago, is a complete committee and council member handbook that completely, that gives a volunteer all of the information that they need about how they should function as a volunteer committee or council member, including the rules of procedure, including our code of conduct, including the Brown Act, including other
Procurement policy.
the procurement policy, and so that was presented to us at our July 3rd meeting. It was too late in the afternoon to completely go through it, so that's something that has been pushed to the August 7th meeting, right? No?
Probably not. Your August 7th was already booked with the presentation on the fee allocation study.
Oh, yes.
And the weddings discussion.
And the weddings. So the fee allocation, the business the cost allocation for building permits and fees that we charge residences, that is a big, broad topic. And when we went through that in 2009, I was just going through my binder of the NBS studies, we had probably a half a dozen meetings, Councilmember Dobby, in 2009, just going over that. And so that is a big, broad topic that we need to discuss. So I think it's important for us to have these meetings, and I agree that they should be on topics that are big for us to understand, and like drainage or other revenue enhancement opportunities. So it's structuring a time that we can all agree on and understand your time constraints, and I'm pretty flexible, so August 7th was the one that we hit upon the first Wednesday of the month initially. That's what we all agreed to at the team building workshop. So if that's not gonna work, then the first Tuesday, the first Monday, maybe not be so good because of the holidays fall on a Monday.
you could always say, it's gonna be Monday, except for when it falls on a holiday falls on a Monday where it becomes the next Tuesday, the
Good
Tuesday.
idea, that's a good,
It's not-
that's not rocket science.
Well, I would've thought that, we could have drafted something up.
Bill, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So-
I don't watch Monday Night
Is
Football.
Tuesday, Monday, I care less about Monday Night Football. I did raise the issue
Yes,
because
you did.
other cities have actually changed their meeting day from Monday to something else. Monday it's not impossible, but it's a problem for me. Because when I took this job, it was set up so that Wednesdays, so I schedule a lot of other things on Mondays. Now, I can work around that in the long term. The question I have is Tuesday an acceptable day, or is that still a problem?
Tuesday is a little more difficult because, we're having the meeting in the afternoon and then I'd be flying out either the red eye on Tuesday or
Okay.
on Wednesday, and then I've got a 2-day work.
What if we
'cause I-
had it in the morning?
I would be happy to have it on Tuesday morning.
That doesn't work for you, that doesn't.
6 o'clock.
Monday mornings are difficult. But look, first off, can I suggest the following? First off, you've already scheduled this one for coming up in August. I've already said I won't be here, and even if it was Monday, I wouldn't be here. So, can we maybe pass the resolution, but, be not firm the date? Is that possible, Bill and George?
We would just have to give
Flexible.
notice. We would have to
Yeah,
give notice
we-
for special meetings.
Can we set it up so that it's the first week of every month?
You could,
And then you finalize a date. I understand that the
technically, it
public
has
needs
to be
to
a
know.
finalized date, but, I mean, you don't have to pass this tonight. My suggestion would be, have the second one, see how you feel about it, because it may be, there's plenty of stuff backed up now, but it may be, Jim's got a point that in a few months, there may not be a backlog, and so setting it up for the whole year, it's up to the council, but I would suggest that if there's some question about it, maybe you wait until you see how the second one goes and then do it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Let's set them out one at a time.
And then I would point out that many cities actually cancel their August meetings so that their council members could actually enjoy some summer vacation
We call those
too.
progressive cities, yes.
I think we should do that too.
So let's open it for public comment. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ann McVeigh, and as I understand, you agreed on regular meetings, and now you're sort of going back from that agreement, which is too bad, but I think you should have regular meetings, and I think if you have the flexibility of just saying the first week of the month, I think then you can hash out the details. And it's up to you, the participants of the meetings, to call it really short or to call each other with appropriate notice time if you decide perhaps you can cancel the meeting, for Monday. So I think that it's very important, especially to, avoid some of the acrimony that we saw in the past over hot topic issues, for you to get together where you can speak more freely before the city council meeting, and I think it's a very good practice, and I think it shouldn't be one at a time. Mr. Dovey, you can make it as short as you want each meeting, and just bring it
I
up,
wasn't bringing up the short or long. What I was bringing up was making sure that we knew specifically what the purpose of the meeting was.
So it
and
wasn't a waste.
What the expected results were. That's the way to have a meeting.
so that the meeting moves something forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
Typically,
that just depends on agreement,
we do,
Thank you.
we do advance agendas, so we will. Okay, so if it's okay, I like the city manager, the city attorney's recommendation that we just pass on this
All right.
tonight. Okay? All right.
But there's a meeting scheduled for this coming.
Yeah, there's a meeting
So that's
scheduled for
fine.
August.
We shouldn't stop that.
No.
The master plan fee
Good.
schedule is great.
Yeah.
We need to do
Okay.
What time?
It's from 5 to 7. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go on to our, what I think is our last agenda item. Is that right?
19? Yes, it is.
Item 19, it's a city council committee reorganization. So what happened with Jerry Carlson's resignation, there are committees and vacancies. I do have sheets that I filled out. And it's been a little difficult, so filling those vacancies on committees and commissions that Jerry had served on was a little difficult. He was very, very active, not only on the regional level, but locally too, as vice mayor. And with only 4 members to go around, where there had been 5, it was a little hard. But I studied it, and that's why I'm really late in handing this out. But this is the new council. New shuffle. And I hope everybody is okay with it. If there's anything that you're not happy with, maybe we can talk. But I think that it does spread it around. I tried to take into consideration individual council members' strengths and interests, and also consideration of their personal preference having to do with either morning meetings or evening meetings or traveling up and down the peninsula, which some other regional meetings require late at night. So,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could you run down the list?
okay. Audit, finance, the mayor and the vice mayor are the council members on the audit finance. I would prefer that both members are present at the meetings and not just one and the alternate at alternate times.
Will you pass something tonight that says the first one is the primary, the
But-
second one's the
but we
unless
said that-
Otherwise directed by the council.
Is that what
As
the
otherwise,
language we
yeah.
added?
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't have the
So-
added language.
Yeah. And then the Civic Center Advisory Committee, Councilmember Dobby, and I will continue to stay on that. And I think it is a large committee, and so I think both of us could be the eyes and ears. So I'd like to have those 2 as the anomalies. Environmental programs, Mr. Dobby and Mr. Widmer can be the lead or the alternate, and it's up to them to, I guess, decide. It doesn't matter. The rail committee, I'd like to replace Mr. Wiest, if he would so agree, with Mr. Widmer as the lead, and put you as an alternate, Carrie, because there are other ones that I think you are going to have to step up to, having to do with the rail committee. I meant the other way.
You want me to do the real? Okay.
I want Reese to do the rail committee and you be the alternate.
Oh, okay, that's fine, no problem.
Sorry.
Flip for that, Bill?
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
because, yeah.
Who was the primary and then who was the alternate?
Carrie?
Environmental
Reese is a-
programs?
Reese, the environmental,
She said you
it's
were-
up to Bill and Jim whether or not, I've got Jim as the primary and Bill as the alternate.
That's fine, that's fine.
That looked fine to me, just to be honest.
Here, I can give you this.
I can do this, I can.
Can
I
you-
think members of the public were
Oh,
seeking-
interested, okay,
interested.
all right.
Yeah.
And the rail, we're gonna do that, okay.
So Carrie's doing the rail.
I still think we're flipping on that.
That's fine. Well, you've been going, so it's good.
Right, and transportation,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
on that one, you had yourself listed as an alternate. Now we have an alternate. Would you be the alternate, or do you need to, we just take that off
For rail?
for rail?
No, just Bill and myself.
Oh, yeah, I'm off.
She's off.
I'm off.
Plenty of things to do.
In transportation, Carrie is currently the lead, and I'll be the alternate. Association of Bay Area Governments, I had Mr. Widmer on there from the beginning of the year, but he informed me that Mr. Carlson had been doing that because of his time frame. So I'll assume that responsibility with Carrie remaining as the alternate. The CCAG, Jerry had been doing that, and I will take that responsibility with Mr. Widmer being the alternate. The Hobart Palmer Park Foundation, Mr. Dobby, would you like to take Carrie's
Yeah,
place?
I was on it before. so
Okay, all right,
I'll be
is that
happy
okay,
to-
Mr. Reese?
Thank you.
And you can be the alternate? Okay. And the League of California Cities will keep the same, Library JPA will keep the same. The Peninsula Traffic Congestion Relief Alliance, Mr. Widmer had been assigned to that, but because it's morning meetings, I've been doing that responsibility. If Mr. Dobby wants to go, it's there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
This is it, yeah, I know.
It's always in,
The problem with that committee is, it's usually on Thursday morning, but
right after
right
council
after
meeting.
the council
Yeah.
meeting, so I mean,
And it's usually like in South San Francisco.
that's right.
Yeah.
I had my year on that.
So I've been going for the last,
and
actually,
you're- and
2
I'm not-
years.
And you're still, I probably won't go no matter what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll continue to go.
We could appoint a citizen.
I don't think so. So the San Francisco Airport Roundtable, I'll continue to do that, and Mr. Widmer will be the alternate. The San Mateo County Emergency Services Council, Mr. Dobby's been the representative on that, and Mr. Widmer's been the alternate. The San Mateo County RENA Housing Policy Advisory Committee, I've been doing that, and I'll remain, and I'll put Mr. Reese as the alternate in place of Carlson. The Grand Boulevard Task Force, I have been doing that, and I'll continue. And Mr. Dobby, that meeting is usually at about 10 o'clock, and it's usually like either in San Mateo or, okay, in Mountain View. The Menlo Park Fire Protection will keep the same with Mr. Reese and as the primary, and Mr. Widmer as the alternate. The Peninsula Cities Consortium, which is the rail associated PCC, will put, and Mr. Carlson had been the lead. We'll put Mr. Reese there, and I'll be the alternate. The SBWMA Blue Ribbon Task Force, Mr. Widmer will be the lead, and
I'll contact myself if I need help.
yeah, would you like to remain being the alternate?
I think that one may
Like
have.
I said,
That would be have to show up.
I think that one is gonna end up going away once they sign the thing, so.
That'll go away, okay. The CalMod Local Agency Policymaker Group, which is, again, the Cal Modernization Local Agency Policymaker Group, Mr. Reese.
I'm sure they've met.
We haven't met yet.
The Atherton Charter City Discussions. This is another committee that I would add, it's an ad hoc committee that Mr. Widmer and Mr. Carlson had been on, working with the city attorney to investigate charter city options for us and to bring back to council. And I would like to have both Mr. Widmer and me on that committee and not have an alternate. So that would be the other anomaly. The Atherton Bike Coalition Ad Hoc Committee, which has just been formed, Mr. Widmer is the lead and I'm the alternate. The Atherton Refuse and Recycling Rates Ad Hoc Committee would be Mr. Widmer. And
Oh, the trash committee.
you got all the trash, and Mr. Reese would be the alternate. The SBWMA Board of Directors, which is a new formed elected position, would be Mr. Widmer, and Mr. Reese would be the alternate. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Perfect.
All right.
thank you for going over that.
Okay. Yeah. It's limiting, wasn't it?
Public comment?
Public comment.
All right. You want to be on a committee. Another one.
Tomorrow night, the ABAG meeting is meeting with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and it's gonna be a very big meeting, and it's gonna be very hectic. There'll be demonstrations because of their voting on the Bay Area Master Plan. And I think many people think that they've overstepped their bounds in interpreting the statute, which is 375. SB 375, and I know that the primary person can't make it, so hopefully the alternate can.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all right, moving on, all we have are our council reports. Do I have any other council reports that anyone wants to submit?
No, I would just say that The Environmental Programs Committee is really having a job. We never seem to be able to get a quorum there. Both Bill and I were available, but we couldn't seem to get anybody else to
And
show up. so.
I was gonna include a report on it. However, I do wanna comment on the delicious Hawaiian buffet with entertainment.
Yes.
This is
This
very
is the council.
riveting information and
There was no
information.
business conducted. It was a social thing with the Council of Cities. There was no business conducted. And the City of South San Francisco hosted, and you were all invited. You could have come, and it was held up at the,
Bring moo-moo or what?
no, I had a really lovely, garment on, it was very Hawaiian, and there were Hawaiian dancers, and Carol Matsumoto was a lot of fun. It was, you
This
guys
is like
think,
your, it's like your personal, calendar, sometimes I'm going through it, and it's,
I'm glad you're enjoying
I
the
do, I
meeting.
enjoy, I read every word in your report, and I'll endeavor to get one. If I ever get to a meeting, or a committee meeting that doesn't get canceled, I'll write a report on it.
Did you see how many committees you are now on?
I'll be writing reams, I promise you.
Thank you very much.
Wouldn't hear that.
I will like to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Here we are, Teresa.